Next up, me.
Yay!
Thank you, fan club.
No, I'm fan.
No step yet.
I'm gonna wait. Oh, thank you.
Who's next? Who's next?
Yeah!
It's me. So mine's about bricks too. That's weird. Mine is an essay called "One Fish, Two Fish: The Plight of the Pescetarian." Part 1. Always use your napkin. I didn't mean for it to end this way. I really didn't want to be standing at a rather nice wedding reception, glass of semi-expensive white wine in hand, napkin full of half-chewed, hastily spit-out stuffed mushroom in the other. Sure, I knew my friends, the now hitched earthly couple, erred on the side of unconventional, and they wanted their wedding to reflect that as well. It was taking place in what used to be the old Ojai Jail, a tiny cluster of ramshackle cabins in the mountains above Santa Barbara. And yet, in the middle of this somewhat rugged mountain setting, my friends had imported stunning orchid arrangements, enough wine to baptize the whole city of Santa Barbara, and, my personal favorite, a wicked cheese platter. There were even waiters gliding around, passing out tiny, delicious treatsies on trays. After hurriedly hauling myself to Santa Barbara, surviving the van ride up the mountain with a driver who may have very well had one eye closed, and quickly pounding 3 glasses of the aforementioned nice wine, I was starving. Add to the mix of my ex-boyfriend and his new lady friend were not only in attendance but also in close physical proximity. You could see maybe how the wine would be priority number 1, followed by food. I kept missing all the waiters, but I finally saw a tray approach. Without even pausing, I happily grabbed what looked like a breadcrumb stuffed mushroom and I tore into it. As I chewed, I remember thinking how rich and flavorful it was.
Oh, you know.
You know it's venison, right? That would be my boyfriend's ever so helpful but 12 seconds too late information. I couldn't help what happened next. It was like a gag reflex, literally. I made some sort of loud groan of displeasure and then, under the watchful eyes of the bride's stepmother, proceeded to hastily eject poor little Bambi from my mouth and into a cocktail napkin. Which brings us to here. Me, venison in hand, starting to soak through the paper napkin. How did I get here? Oh yes, I remember. My parents. Doesn't it always start with them? Part 2. Goodbye, Good Friday. Hello, Dixie Dogs. My father was raised a Seventh-day Adventist.
Ooh.
To clear up any misconceptions... Oh, what's that? You've never heard of them? Perfect. Allow me in the Wikipedia to briefly explain. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is a Christian denomination that is distinguished by its observance of Saturday, the original seventh day of the Judeo-Christian week, as well as the Sabbath, and by its emphasis on the imminent second coming of Jesus Christ. It is the 8th largest international body of Christians. They also don't wear jewelry, don't dance, don't drink, and you guessed it, don't eat meat. It's like the town from Footloose with no burger joints. So my darling father, who in adulthood is not a practicing Adventist, has never eaten meat, and ever. So we didn't either, which meant that my very Italian Catholic mother gave up meat not just on Good Fridays, but permanently. And hey, it was pretty great, though meatless childhood. I mean, when you're raised not having something, you can't really miss it, right? Sure, there was those days in elementary school when the McDonald's truck would come and everyone would be feasting on those chicken McNuggets. I had them a few times myself. Nothing to write home to my dead animal-free home about. My parents weren't overzealous about the no meat thing, we just never had it in the house. If we wanted to order meat at a restaurant, they'd let us. My younger sister had a passion for the paper-wrapped chicken at Shanghai Charlie's, but was horrified when I told her the chicken was, as advertised, real chicken. To this day, she denies eating it, preferring her faux meat of choice, Dixie Dogs. That was the thing about Adventists. They eschewed meat, but they spent a lot of time making tofu-filled replicas of it. Growing up, our freezer was full of Morningstar veggie burgers called grillers, fake bacon called striplets, and soy hot dogs on a stick called Dixie Dogs. My childhood marched on, brief, embarrassing pit stops on days when my mom would pack us a particularly hippie vegetarian lunch of fried chick sandwiches, which I called frick chick. With good reason, I'd get made fun of whenever I'd unpack my lunch, and my neon red fake bologna sandwich would catch some carnivore's eye, or a cute boy would recoil upon seeing my limp, dilapidated striplets poking out of my mom's valiant attempt at a BLT. Around 6th grade, I started making my own lunch, sticking to PBJs and ever so often a Tupperware of pasta, enabling me to look down my nose at the ham and cheese masses with worldly, it's just penne with extra virgin olive oil, capers, and sun-dried tomatoes. I'm Italian, it's no big deal. Part 3, the beef touchdown. Sure, peer pressure came knocking in high school as it does for many. The cool place to hang out in the heady days of my freshman year was one of those unintentionally ironic 1950 diners that were really big in the 80s. I'm totally stealing this joke from the Family Guy. Our diner was called Ruby's, and everyone who was anyone ate burgers there on Friday nights before the football games. I wanted to fit in, of course, and put my frick chick days long behind me, so I ordered a cheeseburger too. I like cheese, I like buns, it couldn't be that bad, right? Taste-wise, it was fine. It was good, actually. Very different from what I was used to, but I kept getting this image of a screaming cow in my head. I enjoy your milk, and now I will enjoy your muscles, as I told myself as I chewed, pretending to listen to whatever my friends were giggling about. The burger went down all right, and I realized with relief that I didn't have to be a weirdo vegetarian if I didn't want to. But about 20 minutes later, I got an emergency message from my digestive system. I hadn't given them the heads up about our little moo cow visitor, and let's just say the natives were very restless that night. I missed the football game, overalls around my ankle, in the high school gym bathroom, listening to the crowd roar between stomach spasms of pure beef-induced terror. And that was it. Peer pressure, no peer pressure. When it came to meat, I just had to say no. Part 4. Sake it to me. Imagine my surprise when, as I hit college, I found out it was actually cool to be a vegetarian. Thank the tofu-loving Lord. I was finally not only a freak show, but a forward-thinking, considerate animal lover. But I felt a little guilty. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love animals, but I also own Doc Martens and a pretty sweet leather jacket I wasn't planning on partying with. Did I not have to wear them in secrecy? Would I have to lounge around my dorm room with my beaded leather belt I got in Colorado from a real cowboy shop? Luckily, most of my fellow collegiates were too drunk to notice my leather indiscretions. And since the university rite of passage wasn't a burger joint but a decadent cookie shop called Dee Dee Reese, I was pretty safe on all fronts. But in my sophomore year, something strange happened. I started craving protein. Not meat, mind you. I was permanently scared off beef. Chicken reminded me way too much of what human flesh would look like should we all turn cannibalistic or get in a really weird spot like the plane crash guys in Alive. But I yearned for some kind of culinary satisfaction I couldn't get no matter how many bean and cheese burritos I ate. And then it happened. Sure, I can blame underage drinking in my college town that forced us to go to some pretty out-of-the-way establishments for not carding. Or I can blame it on the fact that the most popular of these establishments was a semi-sketchy Japanese place called Cowboy Sushi. Maybe it was the copious amount of sake bombs I imbibed, or maybe the excitement of feeling like a real grown-up, ordering grown-up drinks in a restaurant. Maybe I was just hungry. I ate sushi. It was delicious. I didn't go too bonsai samurai my first time. I stuck to the pretty basic stuff. California rolls, maybe spicy tuna roll. But I was in love. Raw fish filled a flesh-shaped void in my heart I didn't even know was there. From that day forward, I have proudly borne the label of Pescetarian. Part 5. The fishy aftermath. Yet since that revolutionary day, I've gotten in many verbal sparring matches about how fish are meat too. And if I'm a vegetarian because I'm trying to make a statement about how can I be so hypocritical, blah, blah, blah. But that's just it. I'm not really trying to make any statement. Yes, I think keeping baby cows in cages to make their flesh soft enough for veal is terrible, and the living environments of chickens is an outrage. I recycle and I buy free-range eggs and I don't drive a gas guzzler. And yeah, fish are animals too. But somewhere in that murky gray area, I rationalize that they aren't cute and cuddly like lambs. They're not covered in fur like my terrier, and they're not a peaceful citizen of the forest like Bambi. Also, I'm a human. I'm an animal, and this animal needs proteins to survive. Tofu's fine, but I get bored with it, and I suck at cooking it. Plus, being a pescatarian has saved me from many a social pickle, i.e. a business dinner at a restaurant that has no vegetarian options, or at lunch with some parents in the South where every single thing in the menu has eyeballs and a mother. In closing, fish are delicious sea creatures, and I love the taste of lobster. I said it. So I will enjoy my existence in this semi-vegetarian, semi-carnivore gloaming, spitting out the venison-filled mushroom caps, but happily gobbling calamari and salmon fillets, fresh from the fish market. I will continue buying my free-range eggs and be able to split the shrimp fajitas, and I will rant to anyone who will listen that you should adopt a dog from the pound before paying exorbitant fees to professional puppy breeders. That's because that's what it's about. Compromise. Doing the best you can. And the best I can involves tuna melts. I guess the Dr. Seuss book is true. One fish, two fish, red fish, tofu fish. To each his own. Except for the red snapper. The sucker's mine.
Woo!